Stephen Kummer. We're so excited to be recording the Enchanted Tail.
So excited for you guys to get here this week. We're going to have a great time. It's going to be intense. We have a lot to do in a couple of days.
I'm going to fill in really quickly if those of you don't know exactly what project we're talking about. This is the audio recording of the Enchanted Tail, which is the first opera that Opera for Kids wrote for children, performed by professional musicians. So the whole theme of the opera is geared towards a story that kids can enjoy and relate to. So
when I saw it, I thought this is really going to be a great project. And my background sort of fits in all these things, from being a classical musician growing up to being a conductor, and then doing a lot with Disney theatrical, doing a lot with Broadway Junior and Music Theater International, and just being very in tune with just dozens and dozens of productions for kids, by kids, and working with professional opera singers and opera companies. And I'm so excited for you guys to get here this week. We're going to have a great time. It's going to be intense. We have a lot to do in a couple of days.
You know, this business is all who you know, it's connections, and if there's a good fit. And you have that connection with opera and then the connection with kids. It just seems so great for us to be working with you on this particular project.
So just fill me in. Are our friends on the call? Are they industry folks? Are they friends, family?
So the friends on the call are supporters, and
right.
So some of them are musicians. Some of them just love our organization and have been contributing to us. Actually, we did a crowdfunding, a source funding as well, to help raise money for this audio recording. We won a wonderful grant from the BS Foundation, and they wrote us a grant for $5,000 for this particular project, thanks to our conductor friend, Dean Anderson, who works out here in Los Angeles at some of the universities. And he put us forward for this particular grant, and they approved it right away, which is excellent. And then we did a crowdfunding to match that grant so that we had enough budget to re-record. And the reason that it's so important for us to do this audio recording is that the live recording that we have does contain a very regimented contract with the union orchestra that we played with. So we decided to have a product that we have more control over so that we can distribute it at our own will.
And like anything, this is one of those things that costs money. I give you guys a lot of credit for being so proactive in this last year, where we have seen a lot of arts organizations take two roads. One, they found creative ways to think outside the box. And unfortunately, we've seen a lot of organizations that have sort of just kind of folded it for the year.
I think it caused a lot of companies, especially in California, to fold. And Bernardo and I are lucky because we're such a small company. I mean, it's just the two of us, and our operating budget is not high yet because we're just getting started. So for us to get grants and funding from, generous contributors like the ones watching today is really key for us to keep going at this point. But I can see how companies that have a huge operating budget and then all these details with AB5 and then COVID could have just crushed them. So we're pretty lucky.
Absolutely. Well, and having those supporters and donors is everything. Yeah. As you know, being an artist, it's one thing, but then to put on the other hat of producer and to physically, how do we keep our doors open? How do we just logistically make it happen?
Right.
But for you guys to have such an awesome product that really, like I said before, the kids relate to, and such a great level. I can't wait for everyone to see this and just watch how the kids react to it. It's really great.
So the process here, there's a lot of things that you're preparing for us to come, right? I mean, we sent you a piano score and a conductor score, and let's talk about the instrumentation. So we've got piano, and then let's give a breakdown of the instruments that are coming to record.
So another really cool thing is how you have sent me these fully, I guess, reduced orchestrations. So these are sort of small versions of the actual orchestral score that have been reduced for a small group of, we're going to have, I think, 6 string parts and 3 woodwinds and percussion. and piano. And through those players, it sounds like a full orchestra. And it also can be done live in that version with that many players, or it could really be done with as big of orchestra as you have available to you. But I think with the smaller version, you can take it as is into schools or into community venues and have a fully realized production without the expense of 60 people and a gigantic set. And the costumes are adorable, but it's all...
Thank you, I did them.
Very beautiful. They're so great.
And I build all the sets.
And Bernardo built the sets.
It's terrific.
So
that's the things you learn when you own and run an opera company.
Exactly. So when we have these reduced scores, and then we sent you an audio version of our live performance that we did with Classics for Kids Orchestra at the Balboa Theater, and we did that for 5,000 kids in San Diego, and we recorded it and edited it. So you had a pretty clear idea of our tempos.
And this is something we'll explore more when you get here. And the tempos, not to get too technical or into a side discussion that we should have later, but there was new lyrics written for everything. So the songs, even though are very familiar, even some would be familiar to kids, I think, but they serve sort of a new purpose in the telling of this story, because the story, Carmen to, all the various operas that the music is pulled from, this is a brand new story. And so tempo-wise and feel-wise, we almost create our own new musical composition, even though it's using the notes and the melodies of the traditional pieces. They just fit a new purpose now, and sometimes the mood or the purpose is repurposed. So that's what we're going to get to explore this week with the live orchestra, and in a recording situation, be able to say, I think for what we're trying to create in this moment or in the story or the mood we're setting, maybe this would be a little bit better if it was slower, or we're going to be more intense here and it can be a little bit quicker, or just the details and the nuance that we can interject. Which when you're doing some of the traditional operas, we are so set in, this is the way it goes. Right.
And we're so lucky to have you have that understanding. I mean, that's exactly it. We took excerpts from all these famous operas from hundreds of years ago and compiled the songs from different operas, different composers, into a brand new show with new lyrics. So you're totally right. We're trying now to get those all to marry together well to be in one production, and for you to have that understanding. You're a arranger and a conductor, and you seem to really get it. We're so lucky.
Well, that's been my background in theater too. It's just that's ultimately what we're doing, is we're relating to kids through this story, this beautiful story that you wrote. And by the end of it, I was like, what's going to happen to the fox?
That's great. And Bernardo...
Sorry, the UPS truck is going by.
Well, we love UPS. Has been pretty good.
It's like when the Amazon truck
actually, that might be our scores that are being delivered to you, because we, Bernardo printed out all our musical scores of all the different parts and FedEx them over to Stephen. But you've had to do click tracks, right? I just want to brief people in a little bit. I know we don't have like a huge amount of time, but I just want people to understand our process when we arrive in Nashville.
Sure. So what sort of happened, and this is sort of the way we do film and pretty much everything in the last 20 years, some of it's due to necessity, especially now with COVID and people being distanced, but also just the way that technology has evolved. We do almost all of our recording now to click tracks, which are made in advance, so we can listen to everything down and say, these are the tempos that we want. And it allows people to record at different times or even different places through technology, and for somebody to line it all up and for us all to be at the end of the project to sound like it's one recording, all recorded at the same time. So in this last week or two, I've been going through and just kind of compiling all the material into what we're basically going to record to, which is a count off, which is conductor would generally do, and then a track that is a metronome that speeds up and slows down to give a real lifelike performance.
So instead of seeing the beat as they play, they're hearing the beat as a click. that you've had to program and match to the tempos that we already did. This is a lot of work, everyone. So, I mean, the expertise Stephen's bringing could be done with several people, and it's all in one person. And then we're going to layer and multi-track, right? So the violins will play, and then because of this click, we could start from the beginning, and they can play again and sound like even more strings.
More strings. Then we'll have our woodwind section the very next day, adding their part to it, and percussion will be added to it. And then I think we'll go through and say, I think this could use some piano, and we'll create our own orchestra. And what's great about Nashville is we do this all the time. So the musicians know how to play with a click track and still make it sound very lifelike. So it doesn't sound, it eliminates the robotic, mechanical element from it, which you want for people to play together. But you want the emotional impact and the storytelling to come through. And that's what we'll be able to do. And it's all very exciting.
It's very exciting. So Bernardo and I arrived this is the quick schedule. Bernardo and I arrived Tuesday, sort of late afternoon, early evening. Stephen's going to pick us up, take us to the studio so that we can review these tempos of the clicks and make decisions about the tempo. The very next day, the string players come in and they track many times the whole opera, which is 35 minutes long. And then we have time the following day, the third day, Thursday, to have the woodwinds come in, do a little mixing of the sound, a little more mixing, and track some vocals. Is that right?
That's the plan.
And then Friday is sort of our last minute, is there any emergencies in the morning?
Right. Catch all. We can re-record anything. At that point, I'm hoping we're going to be able to listen and do some mixing, and we'll walk away with some good work from what we've done the last few days.
And with the live performance, as you said, once you have a recording, there's so many possibilities if you're tracking separately. So you might only have woodwinds with you at a live performance, and that sounds like a fun live element. So maybe you take them out of the recording, or maybe you have a pianist only, so you keep the orchestra and take out the piano and they do the piano. So it'll make our live performances cheaper, more flexible, depending on the budget of the venue. Now that things are opening up again, we would like to tour this production to the different symphonies as an outreach program for youth, performed by professional musicians. So this is
it's a perfect vehicle for that, because so many orchestras are building their youth programs and rely on that grant money, and also as an outreach to their communities through schools. The Nashville Symphony is a big program with the public schools here, as does our Performing Arts Center. Tennessee Performing Arts Center has a children's outreach program. So yeah, it's going to offer you a lot of opportunities.
And we're so grateful that you're excited about it, and you can see, I mean, the whole budget for this project is not much over $10,000, is that right? But I mean, normally I think something like this would be so much more expensive. And I'm only, naming some numbers because all of our donors have been very generous giving us some money towards this project, and I want them to know what a great value we're getting.
It really is. I mean, like I said, the donors and the support is just, we couldn't do this without it. And it is an expensive venture, even though we are getting a great value. Partially, just to be honest, because right now the symphony would be wrapping up the season. People would already be into their summer festivals in a lot of cases, and those things still haven't resumed. So we have the resources. We have people in town that are excited to work.
Great.
And so really the timing was perfect, and
that's right.
Numbers fell into place that we were able to do this. We found a studio that's going to be, I work there all the time for these kind of projects, and they were available, willing to do it, and also jumped on board with the project.
So throw out a few fun connections, which you mentioned before about some of the musicians who are coming, because it was really fun. This person principal from Santa Fe, this person principal from somewhere else.
It's great because Santa Fe Opera is having a season this year, but we have our bassoonist is the principal bassoonist with Santa Fe Opera, who also is the principal bassoonist in the Nashville Symphony. She's a Montreal native, just a world-class bassoonist. So she's joining our woodwind section. We have the principal bassoonist with the Chattanooga Symphony, Other flautist is a member of the Nashville Symphony. Our string section is made up of opera performers and symphony performers. We have our concertmaster is the principal second violin of the Nashville Symphony. We have the principal cellist of the Nashville Opera. So it was important to me that we have not just great studio players, because these are the same people that do record a lot of films. We do a lot of video games. So it's those folks, but they're also tremendous classical musicians. So I thought it'd be great to have people well-versed with the opera repertoire, and it's going to save us time too, because they're going to go, oh yeah, we know how this goes already.
Like, how many times have they done Don Giovanni? And some of our princess songs, when she first enters, she's singing, a song from Don Giovanni. Okay, new lyrics, but that's Don Giovanni. So
yeah, but it's still the tune, and so it's going to be fun for them too. I'm excited for them to hear the new lyrics and to work on this piece as well. So yeah, we've got some tremendous musicians coming.
Well, gosh, and Nashville just seems like such an exciting place to go. And we had a very generous donor who filled the need for flights and hotels, which took that expense away. Right. And that was just incredible, because obviously we have Los Angeles right up the street. But I have to tell you, even though I have great connections there too, it is just so much more expensive up there in Los Angeles. And it is another musical capital of the world, but we don't get to experience Nashville the way that I think it's known to be a recording city.
Sure. Well, obviously, Nashville is known for being kind of the home of country music, and we still do probably 95% of the major country label work here. But we also do a lot of film recording. The symphony here has won several Grammy Awards. It's a very fine orchestra. We have an opera company. We're doing a lot of film work now. And again, to be honest, a lot of it is just cost incentive. It's that we've got wonderful musicians here, and it's an affordable place to live. We see a lot of musicians here moving here from LA and from New York because it's a desirable place to live. It's more affordable. There's tax incentives to living in Tennessee. I was telling Victoria before everyone jumped on, and it's close. It's easy to get to both coasts.
Yes.
And it's just a lot more laid back. We don't have the traffic issues that you guys have there yet.
And speaking of
nobody moved. We don't need anyone else.
And speaking of country, really, really quickly, Steve and I realized we both have mutual friends in common, the Texas Tenors.
Texas Tenors.
You've worked with them, and I've sung with them, and that was kind of a nice... I know they have beautiful records. I love their records.
Very fun, worlds colliding. They record their albums just literally maybe 2 miles down the street from my home.
Great.
And I don't know if I told you, I worked with one of those guys 20-something years ago, and they were in Clarksville, Tennessee. They had already done America's Got Talent, and we're already a group called the Texas Tenors, and they were doing some kind of concert in Clarksville, Tennessee, and I was there accompanying, I'm trying to remember, it might have been Susan Egan, or it was a Broadway veteran person. And we just happened to reconnect, and they said, we're thinking about doing an album, and we need someone to conduct an orchestra and do some arrangements, and it just all fell into place. So,
well, gosh, now we have you on our team. I think there's a lot more projects that Bernardo and I can be working with you on for Opera for Kids, our upcoming productions that we're going to be doing,
sure.
As well as for Duetto, which is why Bernardo and I started this by singing duet concerts. And the best thing about Duetto is Bernardo and I sing a concert for grown-ups, all Broadway and opera music. And then a lot of the theaters that we would tour to wanted an outreach program as well. So this Opera for Kids just lends itself perfectly to that. We have about 5 minutes left, so everybody knows, because I'm on one of these Zooms that'll say goodbye really fast once that 5 minutes is up. But Stephen Kummer, how can we find out more information about you? And do you have a website, or am I going to be building one for you?
Funny. And the short answer is, I am kind of off the grid. I've been stay busy. I love meeting friends like you guys. I don't keep a high profile. I have a couple of solo records that you can find on iTunes and Apple
With your
Music.
piano.
They're jazz piano records that I did with an orchestra several years ago. So
can we follow you anyhow on your social media?
I don't even have it. It's so embarrassing. All
right, if you want it, we're gonna work with you on that, right?
I know my children are always saying, "Dad, you need to get Instagram," and I just I'm still so last century. I guess
we'll just make you a nice landing page so that people can just pop on there and see your credits.
We'll talk about it when you're here.
That sounds great. Well, Stephen Kummer in Nashville, Tennessee. We are going to be flying out there on Tuesday, and we are so excited to be working. And tell me the name of this studio, or tell everyone else the name of the studio.
It's called Windwood Studios. It's a home studio in really kind of closer to the airport than to the Music Row area, but they do a lot of independent projects. They do some country projects, and like I was saying before, we do a lot of kids programs, video work there, and all sorts of recording projects.
Well, we're so lucky to have found you. Thank you for all the work you are cramming into a short amount of time. And
absolutely.
We all have more to talk about because we have a lot to prepare this weekend before we show up on Tuesday. And our great orchestra that's going to be arriving, our session players, I should say, it's going to be a wonderful experience to meet all of them and to work with you. So much beautiful music is created in home studios these days. I mean, they're professional studios, but you don't have to rent out the entire fancy, huge building that's going to cost you an arm and a leg. So for all our contributors, we've done a really, really amazing job of value and finding the best value to do a beautiful project.
For sure. It's the result is going to be impressive.
So, and Bernardo and I want to thank you so much for joining us, and we worked out how to video this so we could share it with everyone who couldn't make it today. But Stephen Kummer, we're so excited to be recording the Enchanted Tail, our 35-minute opera for kids. And we will also have that probably available for everyone to purchase and share with the children in their lives, which is going to be wonderful.
If anybody's interested in opera for kids, if anybody's new, because we put this on Facebook for anybody to see, and they're interested in opera for kids, log on to our website www.opera4kids.com, and make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/opera for kids as well. So.
And also we have a donation button on our website. So if you'd like to contribute, everything helps. We've done most all of our programming through grants and donors like you. So I want to have a chance to say thank you and goodbye before we are abruptly ended. And Stephen, we'll be seeing you soon.
Have a wonderful day, everyone. And I will look forward to seeing the two of you on Tuesday.
Bye for now.